And I think the most important thing is like, it's like curiosity. It's anytime I'm writing piece of copy or doing a video, the whole point is to get people to listen or watch or read more. And that's all
Right.
it is.
Right,
It's
right,
like, if you have, like you said, the best call to action, it doesn't matter if they don't get that far.
right.
So it's the constant testing is, how do I get people's attention and then keep their attention?
Welcome back to Small Inputs, Equal Large Outputs. I'm your co-host, Angelo, Sales God Perone, and my co-host here, Bob, the real Sales God Thompson, is stepping in, laying the hammer down, and we're just we're jamming on sales right now. Our Case Connect sales rep is Bob's brother-in-law, soon-to-be brother-in-law, and he's staying in town with Bob. So Bob's getting to sit here and teach him how to close like a top G. So we're just jamming on that right before we hit record.
I forgot that because last night I was like, where are you working tomorrow? Because I was like, I like working in. I was looking at a Frank Kern thing, and it really like it posted it, and it just spoke to me so much. It's like most of my working days in solitude, and I was like, that's what I love to do. I love to work in solitude, unless I have like this or I guess a sales call or a coaching call. Otherwise, it's just me by myself, quiet, writing, thinking, strategizing, building. And
for the record, I don't like solitude. I like to be involved in everything and everywhere, and I like chaos around me when I work. So we're polar opposites.
I know. Like I just like well, and it's interesting because there's been times where I didn't mind having like people around, but anyway, I think I told him I was working upstairs this morning since he's crashing at the house since we're getting married next week, or I'm getting married to his sister next week. And so I came down. And I was like, "Oh shit, we got this."
Good thing you clarified that because it sounded like you were getting married to John.
Yeah, not married John, marrying his sister. But I came down and he was on the. I thought honestly, so that was the thing. I thought it was a sales call at first, and that's where I was like listening. I was like, okay, like this is the sales call, and then probably 5-10 minutes into it, I realized this was just the triage call. Like he was just setting up the sales call. He had good rapport with the dude. Like they got along. They broed out. They vibed out. And it was also, I think he
does really well at that. He connects with people. Like he's got that. Yeah. I think it's an intangible thing. Like people, sometimes you either got it or you don't. He's got that passion to want to connect with people and likes people. And I feel like that's such a good asset to have as a salesperson. If you learn how to channel that and like tone that down a little bit, and you have that just like general want to be like, you find interest in people.
Yeah. It's the difference. Like a couple of weeks ago, Z had never seen Wolf of Wall Street. I was like, we got to watch this.
It's a good movie.
Like, let's watch it. So great movie. But you think about like that boiler room, hardcore kind of selling style, which is what most people, when they think about sales, that's what people get on like,
right.
It's like, hey, it's like, I'm kind of fake befriending you just to really give you this amazing opportunity. Whereas, especially if you're in a service-based company where you actually have to, like, you're not just selling somebody, taking their money and never seeing them again, like in Wolf of Wall Street. Like here, when you're working with them, and this was kind of something that I was jamming on him with last night, is you want to, like, when doing the sales calls, it's easy. And I think a lot of people do, they make these grand fucking promises. They say all this stuff. You're actually setting yourself up for failure down the road.
100%.
If you don't, because he was like, yeah, Angelo gives like people like full, like candid transparency. Like if you don't do this, you won't get this. And I was like, well, yeah, because you're working with these clients. You don't want to set up these false expectations where, especially nowadays, it's not 2015 where you can just like throw an ad up and people sign up. Like you actually have to do the work. You have to follow up. There's a lot of people that are skeptical about a lot of stuff. So you actually have to work this stuff. And then you got to deliver. But if you tell this person, yeah, you're going to get all these cases and it's all going to happen, you just got to spend money on ads and we're going to deliver them. And then they don't do the work, then they're not going to be happy. They're going to blame you. And it is your fault.
John says sometimes he doesn't know why people sign up after they talk to me. Like I literally tell them that it's not going to work. You're not going to get this. That's not going to be this. And it's like, sometimes I like set those lowest expectations. And he's like, I don't know why that guy signed up.
Well, and I think that's part of like with John, it's like, you're actually connecting with the person on the other end. You're like, hey, I actually want to help you. I want to make sure that we can help you. So yeah, would I love for you to sign up? As long as you're a good fit and you understand what you're getting yourself into.
Right.
I was talking to somebody yesterday because they reached out because they were interested in potentially franchising their business. And, what was one of the things I think with franchising and maybe indirectly helped me when it comes to doing other forms of sales and all the sales in the gyms for a long time was, well, maybe it was actually from the gyms because when we did the gyms, like we would tell them, if you're going to lose 20 pounds in 6 weeks and be able to get it for free, like you have to work out 5 days a week. You have to follow the nutrition, plan that we give you and all this. Right. You have to like make sure you sleep. You don't do any of those things, and you're not going to get the results. And then it's not so like we are being very truthful and candid with them. But I think and then within franchising, when I learned, like when I was talking to them, it's like you can't. I just saw of a lawsuit going against a franchisor right now, and who knows if it's true or not or whatever. But it was like some of the franchisees allege that he made these grand promises that you're going to make X and this is going to be your profit and this is how much you're going to work. And the reality is, I was taught very quickly, especially with that because of how regulated the industry is, that you can't make any of those promises. And I think a lot of internet marketers, kind of people that are coming up, they're just like, how can I make the most outlandish guarantee, then sell them? And then because they go through this, I was talking to, I help somebody that's like an online trainer, and the way that actually two of the online trainers, the way that they were taught to sell, it's a constant feast and famine approach. And I think that's what so many people they don't realize. And I think we learned this within the gym game is, what if I could just keep my clients forever? Like, so if I'm going to on my sales call, I'm actually going to find out, can I help this person? Are we going to get along? I'm going to ask those deep questions. I'm going to be very clear in like, this is why we're the best out there, but also what you need to do in order to be successful, within whatever I'm going to teach you or do for you.
I don't want to keep trying to acquire clients every month. I want good clients. I'm going to keep them. So I'd rather not just start off. It like in the beginning, I just wanted to sign everybody. Now it's almost to the point where like, I want to set super clear, stupid expectations, and I want to just get the right people in. It's more work to just get a bunch of bad people in and sell them. They don't work, and they give you bad reviews, and they bitch about you, and they complain about it in their comment. It just didn't work for me. It's like, because you sucked. So, like, I think that as we progress in business, like, we're good. Yeah. I just want to bring on more good clients.
Yeah, I'm probably going to have the sun's coming up over here. And I think that's it.
Looking like ghostly, dog.
I know. I think it's like when you first start, you have to, you do that. You're like, I need to get, because you don't know who almost your ideal client is, especially if you're new of some degree. You're like figuring it out. Then you realize that you're actually doing them and yourself a disservice if you actually bring them on. I was talking to a guy yesterday because he reached out because, he saw some of the results we were getting. And I was just like, dude, we can't help you.
That was cool from the organic post you were talking about.
Yeah. So like, I just do that because we see that all the time. And I was like, I should probably share this more. I actually don't do a good job sharing that kind of stuff. And especially when I know like we're getting $2 to $5 leads for gym owners, and plenty of gym owners are like getting $40 to $50 leads. I think that's fucking good. So, anyway, so I was talking to him. He's like, oh, like I worked with other stuff. I want this. And then as we just dove in, I'm like, dude, I can't. Like, unless
this ain't going to work, dude.
I was like, you need to change the way that you actually operate your business. Otherwise, we can't help you. I wouldn't feel comfortable because here's the max capacity that you're going to be at. Here's where we're going. Here's what we're going to do. Like, we'd actually, if we ran your ads, we would break your system. We'd break your business. And then you wouldn't be able to fulfill. And if that's the model you want to keep, that's totally cool. But it's not going to be aligned. And I think there's more limiting beliefs. So I was like, man, because he was more of a BJJ school, martial arts. So I actually referred him out to somebody that was more in that space. I was like, listen, like, hop on here. Because he's like, you told me before that you can't help. And I was like, yeah, but I was like, let's hop on anyway. We were chatting again. And it's the same thing. We weren't a good fit for them.
I like you did the right thing too. You actually referred him to somebody that could help him too. And I like Cole just says, like, if it's not a good fit, like, I'll let you know and I'll refer you to somebody who can help you. You know what I mean? And like, dude, it's like sometimes like people use it as a sales tactic to like bring people's guards down, but it's like, I mean it, dude.
Yeah. Well, it's like, because if you've worked with enough clients, like if you're just getting going, you're like, oh, I'm going to try and help this. I know, like, could I help this person 100%? Would it, we just weren't on the same level. Like, not same level. We weren't on the same wavelengths of where we're best serving people. Same thing with gym owners. If certain gym owners don't have the beliefs or the desires yet, and they come into the consulting program or they come into like the agency side of things, like we're not going to be actually able to help them. And we might do them more of a disservice because where they need something else at their current level. So for instance, if we're bringing people on where we just run their ads, they're in the agency side, we straight up tell them, like, if you don't have experience running ads to cold traffic, if you don't have a proven sales system, if you haven't done this successfully already, we're actually not gonna be a good fit for you.
Yeah.
Because, getting leads is one thing. Like somebody could get $5 leads and somebody else could get $30 leads. And the person that gets $30 leads has a better sales system in place. Everything else being the same. They have the same nurture, like let's say automated nurture setup, AI nurture setup. The person with a proper sales system in place is going to be successful with the $5, $30 leads. The person you could get, if they don't have a good sales system in place, they get $5 leads. They could still not have success if they're not used to selling to cold traffic. If they're used to only getting organic, people coming in, they're only used to getting referrals and stuff.
It's funny. Like we were just talking about, like we're talking about this. Like I was actually talking to somebody yesterday, and he was talking about like why he wants to do more business with me in the future. And he was like, I've been watching you over the last like year, 9 months or whatever it was. And he's like, I've been watching how you work and everything. He's like, one thing I like about you. And he's like, I do business, but I analyze the way you operate. And he's like, from the get-go, everything you told me was true. He's like, you set really clear, low expectations and you exceed them. And he's like, and then just everything you told me to do that I didn't do, when I did it, it was like successful. And he's like, you're just like, you were just he's like that your ability to like set clear and low expectations and over deliver is like a quality that I really liked about you. And that's why I wanted to move forward and do business with you.
I wouldn't say it's setting clear low expectations. I don't think you set. I think
I do.
I think you set the. I think you set the proper expectation. You set proper expectation. Yeah, but it's like it's because the reality is you have to sandbag at this point, because when you did it in the past, setting normal expectations, then people wouldn't put the effort in.
Bro, I don't even tell people what normally they can get. I'll tell people like I'll tell them it's like pretty bad. I literally sandbag. Like if on average you're going to convert 15%, I'll tell them they'll convert like 8 to 10. I was like, you'll probably walk with 2 to 3 cases. And when they walk with 5 to 7, you're like, holy shit. Yeah. I literally if I could get them to sign up under like the worst case scenario, which that's what I tell them is going to happen, then and our retention rates have been, ask John, our retention rates have climbed like 15% over the last 2 months.
Yeah. Again, I think then what that sounds like is you were setting too high of expectations before. You weren't setting clear expectations before. I don't think it's setting low expectations.
There's a culmination of two things. It's what we talked about with the onboarding and the process and getting them to buy into doing it, right? And like I think that has helped, along with setting. So if I set realistic expectations now with the new processes, it would probably be easy. But so now we're getting better results for them because of the onboarding, and we're setting lower expectations. So they're just like, "What the fuck? You told me 3 cases. I got 9 my first 2 weeks." It's like
blows them away. Yeah. And that's I think that's and I've been so guilty, because you get, especially when you first get into like direct response style marketing, all these massive claims and these big hypes and stuff like that. And then you realize you're like, when I do that kind of, if you think about the kind of client that you could potentially attract, and how you're the person that's looking for that miracle, you're doing them a disservice and you're doing you a disservice. So then that has been one of the things now is I constantly contemplate is, how can I make the most boring of claims or offers? And this is like the struggle as the marketer, is like, how do you do that and get it to still convert well? And the cool thing is, once you're like, once you get your business to a certain level, you can kind of get away with it, where, for instance, if you have a gym that you're already doing 40, 50K a month on recurring revenue, your churn is super low. So in the reality is you're like, hey, I'm actually not trying to, I'm looking to now just add clients that are going to replace the people that leave on a monthly basis. That could, in theory, you could take a different approach to it. It's tougher, where you're like, hey, I don't need to get 20 clients this month. I just need to get 5 clients this month. So in your marketing, it can be, you're only going to attract the person that like truly gets it. You know, with a lot of other marketing, especially if you're growing a gym, you are speaking to, especially when you're doing traffic on like Facebook or TikTok or whatever, where it's more disruption based marketing, not search based. Like, you're letting the person who didn't even realize they had the problem understand they have a problem, and you have the solution for them.
I still do that kind of marketing though, because if those people in your system, you just disqualify them, but then you own them now. You own their number, you own their email, they know about you.
Yeah, dude, I'm the same way. I don't say that. That's what I'm saying. It's like, it's the thing that it's more of a thought that I've had more and more is, especially, and we kind of talked about this last week, is with the offers that are getting more and more outlandish, how does somebody stand out? By going in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
So you guys own your offer and you own your market space pretty well. So that's like one thing. So it's like, if I was going to be going maybe into your market, I would be trying to do a completely different offer. That's why I look at I look at our marketplace, and I look at all the outlandish offers that all the gym owners are getting, where it's like, well, what's the opposite direction I should really go on that? Because if everybody's promising, then I still fall guilty. Am I just creating another Me Too offer? Or am I creating an offer that's actually going to cut through the mess and help our ideal client? And that's kind of the stuff that I think about. But at the same time, it's like, you also have to make an offer that's super compelling.
Yeah.
Or the more trust you build in the marketplace, the more credibility you build in the marketplace. And that's whereas traditional DR, you think about, how can I turn my dollar into $5 today? And if there's no brand building, brand style building is, I'm investing this dollar to give me $5 5 years from now.
There's branding built into that because people see you and they recognize your name based off of it.
Well, yeah. So, and that's where I start thinking now, it's like, hey, you mess around, you test stuff. But at the same time, one of the best things you can do, even if you're not getting any traction yet, is just to keep marketing. For us, our ads are crushing it. So it's working really well. But I'm also keeping in mind, I'm just going to keep putting more and more stuff out in the marketplace, because how many, even as a gym owner, I see somebody's ads pop up and then I see them go away 60 days later. I see another person come up and
Facebook
they go away.
has identified me as your ideal client because I get served your ads every time I log on. But I don't know if you have dynamic creative with 57 assets in it, because I get hit with it. You got a lot of stuff and they're good. They're I see them all the time. They're really good.
We have some campaigns are doing dynamic, some campaigns are ABO. We have so much. Just this morning, I have one guy, because this is where I think some of the differences, and I learned this doing more D2C style marketing or learning on how to do it for the supplements and stuff. The big dogs are just testing like crazy. Not enough people test. They put up one piece of copy, one image, one creative, and then they're or one video, and they just let it go. And they're like, oh, it doesn't work. I have a backlog. So I have a guy on the team where I just give him headlines, ideas for stuff. I'll share with him hey, here's really good creative that I like. This, and just about every day he's producing more and more depending on the offer, stuff like that. Just this morning I sent him more ideas. So we constantly have images. I do a decent job of getting videos done, not as good as I should be. And then I write a ton of copy. So we have, I think last week or 2 weeks ago, I wrote for every single different offer. So right now we're running a lead magnet to a Facebook group, and then to the video. And then, so I wrote new copy, probably 5 pieces of copy each for each one of those. And then I wrote copy just for a direct to call booking. So direct to calendar booking that we haven't launched yet. So I think I wrote 5 pieces for that. Then I wrote, hey, what if I just wrote, I think I wrote 22 different hooks and leads with 3 different bodies that could be used for any of the offers. And then I wrote 3 different calls to action depending on the offer on top of all that stuff. So I share that because there's a shit ton of assets for ads that we haven't even used yet. And my goal is just to constantly keep producing more and more to then have to force myself, because there's different levels of testing. There's audience testing, there's offer testing, there's creative testing, there's hook testing, there's all that stuff that we're doing. And I think that's part of the fun of media buying, is constantly testing that stuff.
I want to ask you a question on that. I was thinking about this the other day, using the ads and the bodies, because I feel question for you, hook's probably the most important thing of your ad, right?
Yeah. The lead, the hook is the most important.
So like I was thinking to film like multiple hooks and just throw them all in the ad I have running right now. Just keep filming like new hooks and just chopping it on the front end because I think the body's good and it doesn't really like. And I was thinking to just like, because we tried that new hook, you saw like the chick screaming and it went fucking nuts. Like that ad's like killing it. So I was thinking about like do one like opening a mailbox and like, oh my God, and opening the mailbox live and pulling the check out. Like just do like 5 different hooks and just throw it on the same video. Like all different scenes, all different stuff. It's like,
and that's what like, so what, just so we kind of take a step back, like platform wise, I think Max Finn has his 3x3x3 method, and
3
especially
leads, 3
came
bodies,
about
3 call to actions.
So like, 3 leads, 3 bodies, 3 call to actions, because especially with TikTok,
is
how quickly creative burns out. And it's like the most important thing, because if you don't have a good hook, then they're not going to watch or read the rest of whatever it is.
Right.
So yeah, you can kind of mess around, like almost get a standard piece of body, because especially if you're testing, you're like, hey, what hooks, what leads are really, or even like, it's like, what hook is really going to get my prospect's attention? So I can work with different problems or wants or whatever, put in different, test out different hooks while using kind of like the same body copy. And then once I maybe find a hook that works really well, then I can start messing around with like different leads, mess around with different leads. And then I find some leads that work. Then I can mess around with different bodies and stuff and see what kind of influence it's going to have on it. But yeah, the most important thing is it's the lead, it's the hook, it's the, of your video,
your body and call to action would be great, but who's going to listen to it if they don't stop you, right?
Yeah. Like that's
so it's like if you have something that's converting right now, but it starts to burn out, just throw a bunch of new hooks on it. That's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah, so that's like if you have something that's really working, you're like, hey, I know that this kind of thing, and if it's somebody screaming, it's like, hey, that's that disruption. What are things that I can do to really get people's attention?
Right.
And there's like different things that you can test in within the videos of, bringing in people that look like my ideal client, people that don't look like my ideal client, something that's going to be surprising. And I think the most important thing is like it's like curiosity. It's anytime I'm writing piece of copy or doing a video, the whole point is to get people to listen or watch or read more. And that's all it is. It's like, if you have, like you said, the best call to action, it doesn't matter if they don't get that far.
Right.
So it's the constant testing is how do I get people's attention and then keep their attention? So constantly testing. And like, so what I was doing when I was really, and I'm about to launch ads again for the supplements, but it's testing. You could have, and there's a lot of companies that do this. Like, let's say we look at, and maybe I'm wrong on this, but like, let's look at Obvi, awesome supplement company.
What is it?
Obvi, OBVI. And so the guys that started it went like 0 to 30 million in like 3 years. And a lot of it is like, they just have a really cool team. They came from Shreds, I think it was, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it wasn't that company, but something like that. But what they do, and what I've noticed when I take a look, they do a ton of creative testing. So a lot of in media buying, especially if you're using like Facebook or TikTok or whatever, like the creative, it's your video, it's the image. Even now with some of the targeting changes that have happened, that is doing the targeting for you. So like your creative is going to make sure it's going to like, so it's what are the images you're using? What are the words, the text that you're using in the actual creative to do the targeting for you. But what they do is I noticed, like I took a look because they do a ton of testing, is they'll change the images. They'll change the hooks on the images, but it might be the same fucking text. And you're like, oh, this is really basic copy, and it's like, but their CPA is really good and they're constantly testing. And that's like the biggest thing. Because the other thing you want to do is when you're testing in your ads is not, you don't want to change every variable because then you're not going to know. So if you already know, like, hey, here's my piece of ad copy that's really going to work, I'm going to test, or let's say you have a video that works really well. You can keep using the video and then maybe test different ad copy, short versus long, different hooks in the ad copy. Because the most important thing in your ad copy is going to be the first 1 to 2 lines.
Because nobody even sees it. They're going to click more if they don't. That doesn't resonate.
So it doesn't matter. Like you could just boom, boom, and then go right into what you already have, like, the rest of the body copy. Changing just the. So anyway, so like that's where they started doing that. I noticed like that's what I do. It's like I try and produce a ton of new ad stuff so that every week we're constantly testing. We do the same approach when it comes to local ads. And this is one of the reasons why we outperform everybody.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to wait until it burns out.
Right.
I want to constantly, like, if I have stuff that's winning, I want to be able to scale that. And then I want to iterate on it. And I know, hey, this hook is working. What are different variations? What are different ways that I could say this hook? What are different ways I can say it better? What can I test it like deeper? Like when I was doing the
But
greens.
You can cycle it in before it burns out, so you can always bring it back. Like if you burn it out, you can never bring it back.
You can, and that's like so many people just wait for the offer to burn out or the creative to burn out. But if I have something that's like in a winning campaign and I know that this campaign is working, well, then I can put a little bit of the budget to testing. So I can see, oh, this copy is resonating more. It's this hook's resonating. These kind of images, these videos do a little, are better. And then I can get it cranking, and then I can put it into a scaling campaign, and stuff like that. So you always should be testing, and especially, I mean, we still test a bunch of interests for our ads, but there's some people that don't even test interest, so they just test the creative.
Back to what you were saying about like the creative is the most important thing now, even especially with like the iOS changes and everything. I get asked all the time by like some of the people that buy leads from us, like, what is your targeting? What is your targeting? And it's so funny because everybody's just like gets crazy about targeting. And I'm like, dude, because I'm new to advertising. I'm new to this. I'm very, very green. I couldn't even tell you. We were on a call. You're like, you don't have a VSL. I'm like, whatever, dude. It's a video and I'm selling something. I'm like, well, I don't care.
Yeah. I was like, technically, this isn't a VSL.
I was like, a video that's selling something to me is a VSL. But like, I'm very, very green, right? And what I like realize is like, that's helped me because I'm like, all I have to focus on is writing good copy. And I think that beats all targeting, all the other like people are so focused on tactics instead of like writing good fucking throat grabbing copy. And that's what matters really.
100% agree. And
targeting can enhance it. It's like supplements in a fitness program. It's like you don't want to work out and you don't want to eat right, but you're going to take the supplements, right? Like targeting is like supplements to a good routine. You got to work out right and you got to eat right. And then the supplements are the targeting.
Well, and that's exactly it. And nowadays it is different. So with a lot of the platforms using a lot more of essentially it's the data. It's what it has in the account. So like that's one of the things. Like if you spend a shit ton of money, your targeting is so much better, especially if you've been doing it for a while, because you have all that data in your account that the platforms can go use and go find it. Right. And so whereas back in the day, there was like targeting was, especially if you were a smaller account, like this is kind of the argument is with the targeting not being as good of a tactic and strategy for media buying as it was back in the day, does it really hurt those smaller accounts? Because usually you're letting the platform's data do it for you. And if your account doesn't have a lot of data, like you're not going to be able to get clients acquire clients as cheaply. So targeting, I think it's still actually, it is important, but it makes it where it goes back to true advertising. It's your copy. It's your video. It's like, that is going to be the story that you're telling is going to be significantly more important than the targeting. Like back in the day, you could find a really an audience that nobody is targeting, so you could put it right in front of them, and like you could speak out your message directly, so you could get away with it. Whereas now it's like that's just not as powerful. So you do have to just have like good shit, so good offer, good creative, good copy. Then you need to test those things consistently. In order to, because I was like, when I first was running ads for the greens, the first month we were just throwing shit at the wall, and I burned through I think our return on ad spend was like 0.5 or 0.4.
Yeah.
So I remember again, I just lit money on fire, and that doesn't even include any of the cost of goods in there too. So then I realized that I was like, I need to change the testing approach. So I did a lot of like audience-based testing. And then I also noticed the biggest effect though was with we tested the hooks. And then, once I kind of identified some audiences and then hooks that were working, I could then really dig deeper into that and the creative into that and the copy into that. And then I could mess around. Actually, I think I hit my offer. I think once I started finding some stuff that worked, then I started messing with the offer.
Yeah, that's one thing at a time because you don't know what. Like if you change 15 things, you're like, what the cat worked?
And like that's the other thing that like some people don't even realize too is like sometimes like they'll blame the ads when it's not even an ad issue. I was talking to somebody recently, and they have a direct to sale product. And I was like, dude, your on Facebook ad metrics are actually really good.
Yeah.
I was like, it's the page that sucks. So if you want to increase conversion, you want to decrease your cost per acquisition, your cost per lead, like take a look at what's happening. Because if your ad metrics are good, like it's, the click-through rate is good and all of that, you have like good CPMs, good cost per click. Well, that means the ad's doing its job. The ad is not to sell. Just like, the start of this call, like the triage call, it's like, it's a pre-sell, but it's not to actually sell. Like you don't actually sell until you're going to sell. So my ad is selling the click, and that's what it's trying to do. Then it depends. If it's going to a, book a call page, then the page is selling book a call. If I'm selling a product, then the page has to sell the product or whatever, it is. You're selling the action that you want to happen. Then, if they get on a call and you have a 2-call close, the first call is selling the second call. Then the second call sells them into the program. So you have to be really, and a lot of people try and skip over that. But if I have ads that the click-through rate is good, the cost, the unique click and everything is good.
Yeah.
Then it's like I could fuck around with that all day, but it's the pay. And that was one of the things that it clicked for me actually when I was running, with the subs. I was like, man, like I kept messing around with the copy and I kept messing around with the creative, and I was like, actually, this shit's performing really fucking good.
Yeah.
And I was like, let me start looking at the actual page. And I started going to the page, and it was small stuff. I was like, oh, I'm noticing that what I'm what's selling the click isn't when they come to the page, it's different. So let me just change.
There's got to be congruency.
The headline
all the way through.
Yeah, and create that congruency. And then all of a sudden that increased conversion. And then I was like, well, if I'm getting them there, because I was actually in my ads, I wasn't using the offer to sell.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do that for the supplements. So that's when I started. I was like, all right, I'm getting them over there. Let me mess with the offer on here. Yeah. Because I was doing like I think I had originally it was a 1-3-6 package for the supplements. And then I went to buy 2, get 1. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, like conversion went up, AOV went up. Then I would mess with different headlines, and I'd mess with different above the fold, like setups and all that stuff. And that like was huge. And I would mess with like other stuff on the page too. But like that was where I it's probably the same thing with your ads. Like you identify, you're like, I know the offer that's working. I know the hooks that work. I can always test different hooks. But it's like, you have to look at the page conversion. I did that with, because I was like, man, we had a campaign that just wasn't converting for the gyms, for Gym Academy. And I was like taking a look, and I was like, fuck. I was like, this outbound click-through rate's really good. Yeah. I was like, cost per click is really good. I was like, it's not the ad. I was like, so let me take a look at the page. And sure enough, like the page was converting like shit.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, let me I'll start running some split tests. Let me start making these changes. And then I do think it becomes
stuff, dude. I find like just a headline, like I'll literally just split test headlines all the time for MVAs.
Yeah.
And one will be like 13%, the other one will be 3%. And I'm like, what?
The fuck?
And then in a different state, it'll be opposite. Like that one worked 13%. And I'm like, it's like no rhyme or reason to it. But yeah.
You're like, what the heck? So that's where, and that's where I think a lot of people, you just have to get obsessed. And you have to look at like the full funnel. And it's the same thing going back to, it's like, oh man, these leads aren't any good. Well, then you look at it, it's like, well, you're trying to sell them on a triage call, and you haven't even like showed them that you understand their problem and that you can solve their problem. You're essentially like, that's where a lot of people, they try and like, I know, I think you and I have talked about this, Fitz and I talk about this a lot in the gyms. It's, it's essentially it's dating. So many people, you wouldn't go on a date with somebody and be like, hey, welcome to our first date. The first time we're talking, we're going to get married at the end of this.
Like, or just walk up to a girl at a bar and be like, yo,
let's go bang.
But actually, that probably would work today in today's society.
Well, it's the same thing. It's like every once in a while, you could have the worst sales process in the world, and you're still going to get lucky if somebody was already sold prior to them getting on there.
Right.
Like that, there's a spectrum. But it's just because it works every once in a while doesn't mean it's the best method to use. So I think that, that's the same thing. So it's like, hey, these leads aren't any good. Well, what's your follow-up process look like? What's your sales process look like? Maybe it's really looking at the full process to understand, or like, hey, we need more leads. We need more clients.
Bro, you want
a
new client for Legion?
Well, yeah, I'll take
I
one.
just had somebody call Hat Bro. I won't give his name on the stream, but he says the guy just called the gym and wanted to know how he can buy a Legion.
Boom, put him in touch.
Boom, 90% finder's fee. Let's go, baby. You heard it live.
yeah, put him in touch. The other thing is that, but like going there, it's some people. I was actually talking to a guy earlier in the week, and we were digging in. And I was like, yeah, dude, your cost per lead sucks, and you definitely need more lead flow. Your cost per acquisition, but I was like, dude, your cost per lead sucks, but your cost per acquisition is awesome. The problem was
it's the only metric that matters.
His cost per acquisition for the gym was $45. I was like, listen, man. And then, but when you dig in, it's like, hey, dude, you're acquiring clients for $45 to spend more money. And fuck, like, you're like, I need more clients to sign up on a monthly basis. The reality is, though, he was losing a ton of money, even though he was only acquiring the client for $45. Their first month, he was like, it was a $20 a month play. So it's like, hey, you're losing money for the first month. So the reality is, without like going into a deep dive of math, like you're gonna have to wait. You're not gonna make profit on this till second month, maybe mid-second month, or possibly even like the third month. I was like, so if you can, because I was like, you're already losing a shit ton of money a month. So do I want to tell you to spend more money? So I was like, honestly, your acquisition is pretty good. What you could always mess with the offer.
You're not gonna lounge, and I'm not gonna, because I'm fucking lounging too.
Well, I got this new sweet ass fucking couch, so
dude, it's a nice setup. It's like, I'm gonna bring, dude, fuck that. Watch this shit. I'm gonna do this shit fucking live. All right. Bring a fucking red chair. There you go. Baby. Podcast.
Yeah, dude. It's just a conversation. All right, but yeah, so like,
can you still hear me?
What? Yeah, I can hear you. You're a little like echoey and low.
All right, fuck that. I'm not gonna do this. But
that's better.
So I actually.
So when we looked at it, go on.
I actually, all the metrics you're talking about, I actually just started implementing, because I was doing it like based off of like my thoughts, and that's not the way to do it. And I have my neighbor's an actuary, and he does this like for a living, right?
Oh my gosh.
So we're building out we're building out a dashboard and how to track like when clients are profitable and how much we could spend per client, the lifetime value and the churn rate. And, it's like, I'm going to build a nice little dashboard to look at it and stuff. I know all that stuff's in high level with Stripe and stuff, but I'm going to build out a debt, because you need to know this stuff. It's very, very important, because that guy's like, oh, my cost per acquisition is great, but that guy's not profitable because I'm charging 20. He's not profitable until 6 months. 40% of them drop off. I got to sign up 100 people to make this profitable. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and it also depends. It's like, it's like I was talking to the dude, and I was like, hey, based off of, so I was like, can you afford to continue losing money? He's like, no. So it's, he doesn't want, so he thought his issue was a cost per lead issue. He needs to get more sign-ups. So the reality is, honestly, your cost per acquisition is really good. Yeah. The issue is that you're losing money. So ideally, you'd like to get you to be break even or profitable when somebody signs up. Like that's what I would prefer.
Or very
but then also the reality is like his attrition was too high. Right. So we're like, based off of how many people you're signing up in a month, like here's where you're going to cap. This is your overhead for your business. So the problem is like, you want more clients, but you have the fact that you're losing money to acquire this client. And then you're actually not keeping enough of your clients on a monthly basis so that you're just going to you're stuck in this spot. Like here's your max. His overhead for his gym was high as shit. Yeah. So it's like the reality was you're going to cap and eventually break even. So you have to change your shit. So sometimes it's truly understanding. It's like, taking a look at the whole thing. It's like, dude, you need to change, even if your offer, you're bringing him in for something where it's $20 for 30 days, you need to be able to get them to break even. Yeah. So you're breaking even on acquisition so that you can make it to month 2 to make money. Or like, because that's also a different game. If going back to kind of where we were talking about earlier, if my gym is profiting, my business is profiting, and I can afford to lose, like that's how you can win. Right. I can afford to lose clients for X amount of months. Like that's how, BioTrust went to 9 figures in the first years. They knew they could afford to lose money until like month 3 or something like that. Then they would start making money on the client. Right. So it's like, but most people don't understand the data in their business, and they don't understand like, hey, where's it going? What are we doing? They're just like hoping. And a lot of time we think it's a lead issue, and it's like, could we get this person lower lead?
You go like someone off numbers, someone off of your gut, and it's like managing the business through your bank account balance. It's like it gives you kind of an idea.
But it's like you can't, your gut, if you don't even know, I think for you and I, like we can kind of like, hey, we can get an idea of like where the issue is,
Yeah.
but most people don't even know. So it's like, hey, I don't know why I keep saying like, hey, but your cost per acquisition is really good. So if it costs me $45 to acquire a client, then I need to see how I fucking break even. And that's excluding all the other stuff, all the other cost of goods and stuff like that to deliver, cost of services and all. So if some people, you just got, I can't even remember how we even got on this fucking topic. So now my brain's dying. But yeah, I have no idea where I was going with that. No idea.
It's two people with ADHD. It's fucking great. But no, you need to know your numbers based on like, I don't know, cost per acquiring client. I think we covered a lot of topics today. I think one of the most important ones that we shied away from was the John thing. And I wish we would have just walked back and we could break down the sales call. Like that's like, I was actually really excited for him to walk in and we can just break down his call and what he did. Because he's getting better with like authority and being a little more authoritative and matter of factly, I guess.
Well, I think it's one of the things I talked to Josh a lot, like when we talk to some of people that maybe are getting a little bit newer to sales, like I think you should have a script. I think you should have a framework, but you also have to remember you're having a conversation.
Sure.
So we have to make sure, and I think sometimes this happens to a lot of people, is the other person's talking and they're actually not even listening.
Right.
And we're just waiting so we can state our comment.
Right.
So I think sometimes I heard that a little bit, and this dude was actually giving him a really good goal that he could have connected with and like fucking just pre-sold him like hell. But he was just waiting for the next kind of line in his script.
Yeah. So he was listening to respond, not listening to like truly understand.
Yeah. So when there was like different ways for it, so you have to have a little bit of fluidity, but then you have to be able to control it, take that through, like understand the path that I'm taking this call and this individual, to set up the next thing. But I think the biggest thing though was, I think, there's a couple things that I was listening to that I think would be like super beneficial. And it was very timely because I was listening to like something I've been thinking about a lot for the gyms.
Yeah.
But then I think about for every business, and this is more, when you're looking at marketing as a whole, a lot of people are just Me Too businesses, and that's totally fine and that works.
Right.
But when you can identify like this unique problem and then actually have a unique mechanism of like why then your product or your service works compared to everything else, if they tried all that stuff. And not a lot of people have that, especially if you're selling. This is where you almost get commoditized when you cannot separate those things.
Right.
So I think there has to be, like, you have to almost like break like beliefs of certain things. So that I was listening a little bit, and we can jam on that like later because I don't have it like the thoughts fully fleshed out. But I think would really, really help like close significantly more. Essentially, you're like, and maybe it is. And again, I didn't hear the sales call. I thought I was listening to a sales call. Then I realized I was listening to a triage call.
Yeah.
So I think there's like, hey, asking those questions, identifying the problem, identifying what they need help with, getting them really excited to let them know like that's exactly what you can help with, and then like, but that's getting them hyped for the next call. It's not like, because what I heard was we're gonna, sell you. I need you to say yes or no. But there was no real hype about what the person was getting on the
other end, right? Like we're going to show you exactly how you've been stuck doing XYZ. I'll show you exactly how like our system is going to help you be able to bring them in consistently, and like why it's different than anything you've seen before. Because you've been stuck at 3, like blah, blah, blah. And then giving that, and then like, because there has to be, and I was telling the Hapro guys, like they were having trouble getting people to show up for the appointment. I'm like, well, why would they show up for the appointment? I was like, well, to lose weight. I'm like, well, what's in it for them? Like, we're going to identify where you're at, or where you're looking to go, where you're at, and identify exactly what's been holding you back, right, from getting there.
Yeah.
And then if it's something we can help with, we'll get you signed up. But if not, we either point you in the right direction, or you'll leave with a great plan that you can get started with on your own to start working towards your goals. And then like, okay. And I was like, and I'm like, don't just say that, but truly give them, like, if they walk away, like, hey, I understand, if it's not the right time or not, blah, 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 or it's too far, or whatever it is, give them, this is what you need to do. And then what they're going to do is anyway, give them it, be a good person. They're going to go, they're going to fail at it. They're going to come back and let you do it later anyway. So like, just provide a ton of value in that appointment. Yeah.
That's it. Too many people are very transactional. And that's what Josh says a lot. It's like, when we realize people maybe are struggling on sales calls, we're struggling to get people to show up, it's like everything you do is transactional. Right. And that resonates with the prospect. But like if you're not getting, and one of the things that you said a while ago too, and this is what I recorded a training last night on like increasing shows. So somebody said they're like, how to get shows. But one, we looked at the data and actually the show ratio was actually good.
Yeah.
His lead to close ratio was really good. It was like, hey, like sometimes we get caught up in looking at the wrong things, but then also we have to ask ourselves, and I got this from you, is, what is, especially if somebody's opting in online, like they're window shopping.
Right.
So what's going to happen after that? If I get somebody's attention, what is going to be the next step? We have to think about the customer's journey. I got this. I see this offer. It's really exciting. I have an appointment for a couple of days. Well, what am I going to do in the meantime? I get a reminder. I get this. If I see the ad on Facebook, I'm going to go and fucking Google them. So what does my Google listing look like? What do the reviews look like? Right. What is like anything that I go and find about? And not everybody's going to do this, but some people may. What is the level of excitement to show up? Is there a level of, does it seem transactional?
We used to have that text with like, hey, we're all the different meal plans. Like, hey, we're prepping for anything. What's the one thing you're struggling with right now? We can cover in our meeting. They're like, oh, this, cool. I'll go back tomorrow with you. It's like, awesome. You're going to show me that. Like, just provide value to people. Like, get them to show up. There's a billion things competing for their shit. They book the call within 24 hours to get to your gym from that call. Yeah. A billion other things have come up.
Yeah. No, but I think that's like, that's real. I mean, really, it's sometimes as simple as that. It's like, if I did talk to the person, what level of excitement do they have? Like, what do they have to look forward to? Or do they feel like they're about to be sold something?
Right.
They don't really feel like they're going to get help. They feel like they're going to be sold and they're going to be a mark. And it's so fucking prevalent nowadays where everything is transactional for everybody. Right. And I think that's where it is. And we just have to think about it is, why should, like, you might be the business owner and you're like, I'm going to charge this person to set an appointment because they're not showing. It's like, hey, it's not about you.
You're not entitled. You're not entitled to anybody's money, dude.
Yeah. It's like, why didn't they want to show up? Why do they book this appointment? They get excited and then they decide not to show up. We also have to understand, like, we have to accept that there is a portion of people that are just going to get cold feet. They're not going to come, and that can be frustrating and stuff like that. And like, that's to do it. But then you have tons of people that do show up, and that those are the people that you can help. And when you get them on there, actually listen, actually pay attention, actually care, try and identify what they need help with, make sure that you can actually help that person. Right. And then tell them how you're going to help them. And like, get them excited. Be like, yo, I can't fucking wait to jam with you on this so that we can do X, Y, Z.
Like you said with marketing, the ad sells the click, the landing, the clicks. Wait. Sell the click.
So your ad, you sell the click.
Yeah.
Landing
page sells the opt-in.
Yeah, if it's going to an appointment, if I have a calendar that's for the appointment, like the marketing does a lot of the heavy lifting for me. Good marketing will do the heavy lifting in a combination of direct response and brand building. So that's what my marketing is going to do. And then if my ad is going to sell the click, and whatever the action on the ad is going to be, am I selling them to opt in? I need to sell them to opt in. Once they opt in, am I selling them to book an appointment? Then I'll book them an appointment. And then the follow-up has to make sure that is selling them showing up to the appointment. And we just have to think about it like that. Not like my ad isn't, and you could in theory, like you could use your ad to sell, but then you're pretty much going to be using dollars for the most part to sell.
Right.
And that's where, like, if you sell something low ticket or something like that, feel free to put it in. But if you're selling, generally, like you're selling high ticket, this is why you don't put it in the price tag. Or like for a gym, if you're not a commercial gym, if you are a private gym, or you're a marketing company or your consulting company, like you do want to make sure you have the right fit in there because it will impact you and impact their success. It'll impact the others in there. So sometimes you do want to make sure you vet it, and you don't want price to be the vetting component. If you are selling something low ticket and it is actually a selling feature because you're almost like hey, I'm using this almost as a commoditized way, or it is, well, everybody else is selling something super high, I'm going to sell it super low. Right. Then it's like, then you can use it in there. But at the same time, so we just want to make sure that we're selling whatever the next action is going to be, or whatever outcome we want.
All right, piece of chicken grease.
All right, brother.
Catch you next week.